first thing I ask is if the patient's breathing. They straight up yes with that one. My next question is the patient awake? And at this point, I had a feeling that I was talking to a young girl. They said no. And then, is the patient breathing noisily? And they said, no, it sounds like he's snoring. So at that point, straight away, I knew something wasn't right. So that gave that pre-alert, that gave that crew that Category 1 call to start running before I'd even got an address.
That whole time on that job, we were all on the way while the questions were being asked of the girls, and without the information, we have no idea what we're going into.
Essentially, we were diverted away from a different category of call, and it's not uncommon for that to be the case, but at the point that the call was made, sometimes we only have a rough address, so things like the patient's age or what their presenting complaint is just not apparent, and all the while we were probably 5 to 7 minutes away. We received several updates around what the patient was doing, whether they're conscious, breathing, bleeding, I think actively fitting at one point. So we were able to have a discussion on the way to the job amongst the team and decide a bit of a game plan before we arrived.
Going together as a team, deal with the emergency.
Is there anything else about your role as a CFR that would be interesting for people to know about?
There's a bunch of us out there, and we all have a lot of us have full-time day jobs, not in the ambulance service itself. For example, I'm a fire and security engineer outside of this, which is completely different to any medical sort of job. But there's some of us that have previously worked with emergency services. But it's nice that there's a group of us out there that all have full-time jobs, and we all do this in our free time. And obviously, we try our best to get there first and provide the care that you need.
It's really important for me that once I knew that it was a child caller, that their lasting experience of the ambulance service was a positive one. So once we knew that Adam, the patient, was going to be stable, and we'd cleaned him up and given him the medication that he needed, we invited them onto the ambulance before leaving for hospital, and that just meant that they could say goodbye properly and see him in a far nicer state before they went off to bed, so they wouldn't going to be worried, or in fact they might actually be hesitant to call 999 again. So I was really pleased that we were able to end on a positive at the end of the call.
Dad not being very well is going to be one of the most stressful situations they've probably encountered, being 11 and 12-year-old. But the questions I asked, they gave me straight answers. There's majority of the questions are all yes and no, and to have someone on the other side of the phone just saying yes, no, or giving me descriptors makes my job the easiest job in the world. Just personalising that call, I could tell that they were young from the beginning, so just making sure that they know it's a human they're talking to, and that I'm there to try and get whatever help I can for their dad.